people could also escape just as easily. And those folks could also kill on the outside. So the whole incapacitation argument really is weak. Another thing you should be aware of is that inmates who are serving life without the possibility of parole are practically never paroled, virtually never, and very, very seldom actually escape. You know, one other thing about incapacitation that you may want to think about is if incapacitation is our goal, then why not just execute everybody? Why limit executing people to capital murderers? If we want to incapacitate criminals, you know, let's execute more people. For example, drunk drivers kill many, many, many more people than murderers do. So perhaps as a sensible precaution, maybe we should just execute drunk drivers. You know, that would be another argument in support of incapacitation. Now, there's other reasons why, in my opinion, the death penalty is wrong. And I think probably the most important one is the issue of racial disparities. The ugly truth is that racial minorities are executed far more often than white people. And when I say far more often, I'm talking 2 to 5 times more often. Another ugly reality is that the race of the victim is very important in determining who is selected to face the death penalty and who is ultimately executed. People who kill white people are executed, and the state seeks the death penalty far more often than white people. That's just an ugly reality, but it's true. And the race of the victim in particular is of great importance and something that you should be aware of as a driving force in the death penalty, because the reason why the race of the victim is so vitally important in who faces the death penalty is primarily due to prosecutorial discretion and prosecutorial decision-making. And I will acknowledge that Mr. Catani's office generally doesn't make those kinds of decisions, because generally they do appellate work. They very rarely do death penalty trials. But the various county attorneys throughout our state decide who's going to face the death penalty. And those decisions are predominantly made in favor of white victims. So basically, our state officials are implicitly sending a message that the lives of white people are more valuable than the lives of minorities. And that is frankly an ugly fact, but true. For example, a study in Florida concluded that a black person who kills a white victim was 7 times more likely to receive the death penalty than a black person who killed a black victim. So again, what's up with that? That's the invidious role of politics, really, is what that is. Prosecutors can't seek the death penalty in all cases where it could potentially be imposed because it requires a lot of resources. So what they do is select those cases where they feel they can get the most political bang for their buck. The cases that are going to generate the most positive publicity, and the cases that are most likely to help them retain their office. And those cases, for better or for worse, are cases involving white victims. And that's just a proven fact. It's been established statistically over and over and over again. Could you advance? Just hit the button, the arrow. Thanks, that's perfect. This is also a very persuasive argument against the death penalty, ladies and gentlemen. The criminal justice system is operated by human beings. Human beings are fallible. Human beings make mistakes. Some human beings are corrupt. That's just a fact. That's just human nature. That's been known since the dawn of time, that human beings make mistakes and that some human beings are corrupt. As a consequence of that, people are falsely convicted. That is simply a fact. There's no dispute about that. The only way we could eliminate false convictions would be to eliminate human beings from the criminal justice system and have God or computers or somebody who's infallible run the criminal justice system. And of course, computers aren't infallible either, so don't think for a minute that they are. I barely know how to operate them. Thank you for the help, Myrna. But in any system run by people, mistakes are going to happen. And people are going to be falsely convicted from time to time. It's not common, but it certainly happens. And if those people are executed, there's no way to go back and revisit that and to fix that problem. Those people are dead. And the reality is, it's happened before, and it'll happen again. As long as we have the death penalty, innocent people are gonna, from time to time, get executed. It is inevitable in any system run by human beings. And I don't think you need statistics or studies to establish that. It's just plain common sense. Now, a lot of people don't place much stock in this false conviction argument because it's basically statistics or maybe names. They might hear, well, 0.5% of all people are falsely convicted in the criminal justice system, or whatever. And they're like, whatever, it's only 0.5%, so what's the big deal? If you could advance it. The big deal is this, ladies and gentlemen, these are people. These are not statistics. These are human beings who are not guilty, who are factually innocent. This is a picture of me with a guy I met recently at a conference. His name is Daryl Burton. As you can see, we're fairly well acquainted. I shared a couple meals with Daryl, got to know him pretty well, had a few laughs, went into town with him one night. Town was a town of 900 people. It was kind of weird, but it was in Wyoming. But in any event, Daryl was locked up in a penitentiary for 24 years for a murder he didn't commit. Factually, didn't do it. And that's no longer in dispute because you can see he's out. And they don't generally let people out when the issue is dicey. You may have all heard about the recent release of the Memphis 3. That's a whole different scenario. Those people were not really exonerated. They entered into a plea agreement for time served. That's a different kind of case. We're talking about people who are actually innocent, actually exonerated. Daryl was convicted of first-degree murder. He was facing the death penalty. At the last minute, the state elected to not seek the death penalty. He got a life sentence. He did 24 years and fought his case every day. He never admitted guilt. He never expressed any remorse because he didn't have any. He didn't do it. So these are people, folks, and you need to understand that these are people who can get executed by this system who are factually innocent. Just a couple more thoughts about Daryl. Daryl's a very strong Christian. He's a vegetarian, and he doesn't drink alcohol. Now, there's someone here who I know who knows a little bit about me. And Colleen knows that I go to church for weddings and funerals, eat meat every day, and enjoy the odd cocktail, right? So you tell me, who's the better person, me or Daryl? I don't know, but he almost got executed. He came real close to getting executed. That alone should give you pause and make you think, maybe we shouldn't be doing this. Another argument against the death penalty is that it's illogical. We kill people who kill people to show that killing is wrong, right? Seriously. I mean, think that through. Does that make a lot of sense? We don't rape rapists. We don't. We don't steal from thieves. But we kill murderers to show as a society that killing people's wrong. That's crazy. That's insane.